Admitting it's been a tough year not just for Lori, my wife, but for all of us, I reflect on my 16-year tenure at Van Screw and Nut, where we specialized in crafting custom fasteners for manufacturers. Given that products require specifically tailored components, our work was crucial. Beginning in sales and eventually ascending to sales manager, I found fulfillment in the role, which also offered substantial compensation. Achieving my quarterly quotas consistently ensured a year-end bonus exceeding $100,000. Despite challenges posed by manufacturers shifting production overseas, my diligent sales team consistently outperformed previous years. A little over a year ago, an unexpected meeting gathered all company executives, myself included, revealing the owner's retirement and the company's impending sale to a California conglomerate. Amid assurances that our jobs were secure and management unchanged, a new CEO was installed. However, this pledge proved false as layoffs commenced within 2 months. Recognizing the signs, I began seeking new opportunities, but was let go before securing another position. With a pat on the back and a $10,000 severance package, I was swiftly escorted out. Initially, Lori and I remained relatively unconcerned. However, as months elapsed, I gradually recognized the economic shifts that had occurred since I had secured my stable employment. Not only had manufacturing largely relocated overseas, but even domestic firms were sourcing their fasteners internationally. Though I pondered our past resilience, my immediate focus shifted to securing new employment. Simultaneously, our 17-year-old son, Lance, was preparing to graduate from high school. His decision to enlist in the Army upon graduation evoked mixed emotions within me. While concerns for his safety amidst Middle Eastern turmoil weighed heavily, we also anticipated his absence with deep sadness. On the bright side, the prospect of avoiding college expenses was a relief, given our financial constraints. Around 5 months post-downsizing, the realization dawned that securing another $100,000 job wouldn't come easily. Adjusting my expectations, I aimed a bit lower. Lori also joined the job hunt to bridge our temporary financial gap and surprisingly found employment before me, serving as a low-level secretary at a software company. Though the pay wasn't substantial, it exceeded my unemployment benefits. Shortly after Lori's employment, I landed a sales role at Enright Automotive, specializing in aftermarket car parts. Initially, I received minimal compensation during training, but later transitioned to a salary plus commission structure. While not lucrative, it was a steady income prospect. Notably, the company's highest-paid salesman, after 12 years, earned just $60,000 annually. The strain on our budget was palpable. Accustomed to the trappings of affluence, we resided in a comfortable home with a mortgage and owned 2 Cadillacs, one of which remained unpaid, albeit mine. Although both were 5-year-old CTS models, Lori's had been purchased mere months before my layoff. Additionally, our credit cards were heavily utilized, reflecting our financial pressures. We sorely missed our previous leisure activities, such as dining out and attending social events. These outings, occurring 2 or 3 times a month or even more frequently, were cherished moments that added vibrancy to our lives. Regrettably, leisure was one of the earliest casualties as we began downsizing. Interestingly, Lori seemed to struggle more with this adjustment than I did. Unlike me, who didn't experience much enjoyment until college, Lori had always relished her family's affluent lifestyle. For her, leisure was practically second nature. With months passing without leaving the house, Lori began voicing her discontent. To her, prioritizing bills seemed less urgent compared to the need for recreation. This sentiment first emerged approximately 3 months ago when Lori expressed her frustration. "Skyler, we need to take action. I can't stand being cooped up at home every night with nothing to do. I miss our old outings and the fun we used to have." Lori appeared distressed as I sat at the kitchen table, meticulously reviewing our bills. Slowly, painstakingly, we were clawing our way out of financial trouble, bit by bit. Glancing at my beautiful wife, I responded sarcastically, "Sure, no problem. Just let me know which bills we should skip." For a moment, she simply stared at me, and I braced myself for a possible outburst. However, whatever thoughts she harbored, she kept them to herself. Instantly regretting my remark, I felt a wave of nausea. It wasn't as unreasonable a request as it sounded. "I'm sorry, honey," I apologized, feeling genuine remorse. "I promise, this won't be our forever. I'll keep searching for better opportunities. But for now, we need to take it easy." "Gotta chill out," she retorted sharply. "Skyler, we've been chilling out for almost a year now. I feel trapped. I need some enjoyment in my life." "I understand, sweetheart, I really do," I reassured her, attempting to soothe her frustrations. "Listen, we've made progress. 5 months ago, we almost lost your car due to missed payments. This month's commission check will cover everything except one car payment. If we tighten our grocery budget, we'll be back on track in 2 months." Observing Lori's tightly pressed lips, I could tell she wasn't in high spirits, and I couldn't blame her. Suddenly, I had what I believed was a brilliant idea. "Hey, how about you and I visit the Lincoln Park Zoo this weekend?" I suggested eagerly. "It's free, and we haven't been there since Lance was little." "Skyler, I'm not in the mood for nature. I want nightlife," she replied with a grin. "I want to eat, drink, and dance until dawn." "Sweetheart, please bear with me a little longer," I pleaded. "Once we're caught up with the bills, we'll celebrate by dining out somewhere nice." Without another word, she turned and headed upstairs. I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Although I felt guilty. This was Chicago. With expenses like parking and dinner for two, a restaurant outing easily cost a couple of $100, if not more. Raised in a family that prioritized bill payments, I couldn't justify such spending while we were still struggling to catch up, barely managing the minimum credit card payments each month. It took me another 10 minutes to finish up. I had planned to watch the news, but realizing Lori was still upstairs, I decided to check on her first. Entering our bedroom, I found her seated on the bed, tears streaming down her face. Instantly, I felt like a complete jerk. Sitting beside her, I embraced her tightly, holding her close. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm trying my best," I murmured, pressing my cheek against her head. "I know," she sniffled. "It's been such a tough year, and with Lance gone, we could escape for the weekend. We should be enjoying a mini vacation, but instead, we're stuck here. It feels like being trapped." I chuckled inwardly at her quip about prison being abolished, but she missed it, her gaze fixed downward. If she had seen my reaction, she would have noticed my anger. Our home wasn't a prison. In fact, I hadn't even wanted to buy it initially, I thought it was too large and costly. Yet, once she set her eyes on it, she insisted. Now, I'm fighting to keep it, and she refers to it as a prison. I had a choice: confront her about her analogy or simply walk away. I opted for the latter. Over the next 2 months, the dynamic between Lori and me deteriorated further. Our conversations grew shorter and lacked depth, and we found ourselves spending less time together in the same space. Intimacy waned, with Lori's enthusiasm diminishing, replaced by tears instead of passion. She openly expressed her discontent over my failure to take her out, but I couldn't oblige until our bills were settled. While I assured her of future outings, it didn't alleviate her frustration. Tensions reached a climax one Friday evening after work. Returning home in high spirits after securing a promising contract, I anticipated finally enjoying quality time with my wife. However, before I could share the good news, I found Lori descending the stairs dressed to the nines. "Wow," I remarked, observing her attire. "What's the occasion?" "I'm meeting some coworkers," she replied, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "They're covering the expenses." Something felt off from the start. A sense of unease crept over me. While Lori had never given me reason to doubt her fidelity, her choice of outfit for a girl's night out seemed unusual. Moreover, she was a woman of pride, the idea of allowing friends to foot the bill contradicted her character. It felt like a charity event, something she'd only entertain if she were out with a man. A chill ran down my spine. "Who are these girls? Can you tell me their names?" I pressed, hoping for a straightforward answer. Her response lacked any concern. "Just some coworkers. You wouldn't know them." "Lori, you didn't answer my question." I may not have been born yesterday, but I can see through this. You don't dress up like that for a casual night with coworkers. Are you going out on a date with someone else? Don't be ridiculous, she dismissed casually. I've told you, I date women. If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do about it. Your paranoia is your own issue. A car horn interrupted our conversation, drawing my attention outside to see a cab waiting in our driveway. You're taking a cab? I asked incredulously. Yes, and I intend to enjoy myself tonight. It's better than risking a DUI, she explained calmly. And let me guess, the girls are footing the bill for that too. I retorted, feeling a surge of anger. In all honesty, yes, they are, she admitted, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. There are leftovers in the fridge from last night. You can warm them up in the microwave. I might be back late, so don't wait up. With those parting words, she exited through the door. Peering out, I checked if anyone else was in the car, but as she slid into the back seat, she appeared to be alone. Initially, I entered a state of denial. Despite Lori's anger, I couldn't fathom the idea of my wife seeing another man. We had a son, a life together, she wouldn't betray me, I reasoned. I retrieved the leftovers from the fridge and placed them in the microwave, but as my food warmed, so did my suspicions. I desperately wanted to believe she was simply enjoying time with her coworkers, but the doubt lingered. Turning to the computer, I located the number for the cab service. Upon reaching the dispatcher, I requested the location of the cab that had departed from my house. Providing my address. To my surprise, the dispatcher readily furnished the information: Plato's House, 3560, Elmhurst Road. Familiar with the establishment, I recalled its romantic ambience and dimly lit corners, a far cry from a casual outing with friends. By the time the microwave signaled my dinner's readiness, a knot had formed in my stomach. I couldn't shake the notion that spouses were supposed to support each other in tough times, not betray one another. Perhaps, I mused, I should dine at Plato's myself. The establishment boasted 2 entrances, one leading to the living room and the other to the restaurant. Opting to bypass the hostess, I headed through the living room. Uninterested in drinks, I strode past the bar and into the restaurant area. A quick scan revealed my wife seated at a table with another man, her back turned to me but unmistakably her. They conversed over appetizers, a bottle of wine already on the table. Anger surged within me as I identified the man attempting to seduce my wife. I glared at him and advanced with hostile intent. Mr. Slick must have sensed my approach, he halted and glanced up, suddenly uneasy as our eyes locked. Closing the distance, I was mere feet away when Lori glanced over her shoulder. Noticing my presence. "Skyler," she exclaimed. "What are you doing here?" "I came to meet your coworkers," I spat venomously. "Who's this?" "Hello," he began, rising from his seat. "Give me a reason," I threatened. "You know she's married. Does that mean nothing to you? Do you leave a trail of slime wherever you go?" He appeared unsure of how to react, caught between standing and sitting as my wife intervened. "Skyler, please don't cause a scene. It's Jerry. He's my coworker. Since you didn't ask me out," he volunteered. "He was just being kind." "Kind, my foot," I muttered angrily. "He's just trying to make a move on you." Glancing at Jerry once more, he seemed to opt against challenging me and resumed his seat. "If you ever try anything with my wife again, I swear, I'll make you regret it." "Your night's over," I directed at my wife. She hesitated briefly but, like Jerry, chose not to push further. "I apologize," she addressed Mr. Cool as she rose from her seat. I felt the attention of everyone in the room as I led her out. Gripping her hand firmly. Silence enveloped us during the drive home. However, once inside, the atmosphere changed. "What was that about, Lori? Did you suddenly decide I wasn't worthy of being your husband?" "No, not at all. I just wanted to have some fun and get out of the house for a bit." "Who's Jerry? How long have you been seeing him?" I demanded, my anger mounting with each passing moment. "Well, just a coworker I barely know. We've had a couple of lunches together. That's about it." I mentioned missing our past dates, and he suggested dinner and dancing, so I agreed. Big deal, she retorted mockingly. I can't believe this, I exclaimed, feeling almost stunned. I thought our marriage was stronger. We're facing challenges, and you're ready to walk away. Who said anything about leaving? I work too, every day. I deserve some fun. If you won't take me out, why should I turn down someone who will, she countered. Because you're my wife, for God's sake, I raised my voice. We're supposed to be a team. She remained silent, but her expression conveyed mockery of my words. Am I supposed to worry about your loyalty too? Do I need to question your actions when you're away? Were you planning to sleep with him tonight? I questioned. Absolutely not, she replied sharply. Looking at the woman I'd been married to for almost 2 decades, I realized I didn't trust her, not anymore. I don't believe you, I asserted. You lied about seeing your friends, and now, why should I trust you? It's been a hard year, but a wife should support her husband. Remember our vows. For richer or poorer, in sickness and in health. In that moment, my thoughts were crystal clear. Our marriage is over, I declared. Her response was mocking. Don't be absurd, she dismissed. We're broke, remember? You can't even afford a lawyer for a divorce. How do you plan to leave? You can't even afford to move out. I wished I could offer a clever retort, but I was too stunned. Some people simply don't know how to handle things. It was evident she no longer loved or respected me. 19 years of marriage crumbled in an instant. Though I felt like breaking down, anger consumed me. Without a word, I ascended the stairs and began packing my suitcase. Lori waited 10 minutes before approaching. What's this? She demanded sharply. You can't take me out to dinner, but you can afford a motel. Great, she shouted before storming out. Enright Automotive outsourced much of its production overseas, but we still manufactured some items locally. Adjacent to the offices was a small factory with a shower room and a couch in the reception area. A shower and a place to sleep were all I needed for now. As I descended to the lower level with my suitcase, Lori was in the kitchen. Though she called out, I didn't pause to listen. I loaded my clothes into the car and drove off. Within a mile, my cell phone rang, but I couldn't reach it with my seatbelt on. I let it go to voicemail, though I was curious. Upon reaching the office, I retrieved my phone and pondered. I half expected tearful apologies from Lori, begging me to return. Instead, her voice was firm. Skyler, you're acting childish. I told you I wouldn't sleep with Jerry, and I meant it. Come home. Not quite what I anticipated. I left everything in the car except essentials, no need for my workmates to know. It was early, so I went to the break room, hoping TV would distract me, but it didn't. I wondered what might have happened if I hadn't gone to the restaurant. Would she have just gone home after dancing? I'll never know, but doubts lingered. Even if she did, Jerry didn't seem like one to give up easily, he probably would have pursued her. I gave up on TV, set my alarm for an early start, and tried to sleep, pondering my options. Lori was right, I lacked funds for a lawyer or an apartment. I needed a plan. She showed contempt for our marriage and me. I won't return home humiliated. I was surprised by how well I slept on that couch when the alarm woke me. I dressed and showered, then headed to Denny's for breakfast. I'd spend time there until work. While on my 4th cup of coffee, a solution struck me. It was so simple, I wondered why I hadn't thought of it sooner. Back in the parking lot, I snapped a picture on my phone. Upon reaching my desk, I ran an ad. 2 days later, I took the day off for some errands. With Lori at work, I went to the house and found the papers I needed in our file cabinet. Grabbing spare keys, I later checked into a motel and called Lori. As soon as she heard my voice, she started in. Finally. Done with your tantrum? No money for dinner but for a motel? Actually. I interjected, I'm at the office. The office? Yeah, they've got a shower, comfy couch, and a TV room. All home comforts, I fibbed. She retorted, this is absurd. Come home. Not happening, Lori. Our marriage is done. Just called to say you need a ride. What? Why? What's up with the car? Nothing, I replied. Your car runs way better than mine. A brief silence ensued as she processed my words. Skyler, what do you mean? I sold my car, got $18,000. Enough for a lawyer and condo down payment. Still need a car for work, so I took yours. Got both cars' licenses and your spare keys. Skyler, she exclaimed. You can't. What will I drive? Actually, since both cars are in my name, I can. Haven't removed anything from our records. Bills are paid for the month, not much left. Budget well, you'll have food and cab money. If you're short, I'm sure Jerry would treat, given what he wants. Her tone shifted suddenly. Skyler, please. I didn't think you'd go this far. Sorry for Jerry. Nothing happened, honestly, Lori, you lied, went on a date behind my back, showed no remorse when caught. You don't love or respect me. I'm sorry, Skyler. I'm sorry too, Lori. We failed each other when things got tough. He was taken aback by her sobbing, but he pressed on. The house is our only asset. It needs to be sold. Sell the house, Skyler. Must we, Lori? We've caught up on the mortgage, but I can't keep paying for the house. You won't manage the monthly payments either. We have to sell it now. We might each get $50,000 or $60,000. You could buy a decent used car and get an apartment. Skyler, I don't want a divorce. Can't we talk? I'm sorry, Lori. It's not about your wishes anymore. So, should we call the realtor, or will you? Epilogue. Lori stood on the sidewalk outside her apartment, gazing at the gray sky. The sound of geese flying north reminded her that spring was near. She trudged through melting slush to her 10-year-old Honda, heading to Starbucks to meet her old friend, Julia. Lori anticipated the reunion. Chicago's typical winter kept her mostly indoors, between work and the harsh weather. Julia had secured a table when Lori arrived. They exchanged a friendly kiss before Lori joined the line for coffee. As she waited, Lori relished the chance to reconnect with her friend. Returning to the table with her Colombian brew, she was met with a warm smile. Lori, it's great to see you after so long. Yes, it's been too long, Lori replied wistfully. I don't get out much these days, why not? You used to be quite the party girl. Yes, life seemed easier back then. I can't afford to go to parties now, Lori admitted. What about dates? You used to enjoy those, Julie teased. Lori chuckled lightly. That's a catch, 22. Can't date if you don't go out, and can't afford to go out without a date. What about guys at work? Julie inquired. Mostly wimps or married, Lori replied dismissively. Let's change the subject. It's depressing. How are the kids? They're doing great. Charlie Jr. just got promoted, and Debbie's in her 3rd year of college, Julie shared proudly. They grow up so fast, Lori agreed. Lance has 1 year left on his contract and talks about re-enlisting. He's loving it. How's Charlie? He's fine, working hard as usual, Lori answered. Lori noticed the hesitation in Julie's voice. What's on your mind? Oh, nothing, Julie replied, even more hesitantly. Come on, out with it. You were going to ask something. Well, I was just wondering if you've heard from Skyler. Not since the divorce, Lori said, pausing. God, that was 2 years ago already. Why do you ask? I just ran into him, and, What? Julie, tell me already, Lori urged. Okay, he's getting remarried, Julie finally disclosed. Though she knew it was over, Lori found it hard to accept the news. Her eyes welled up instantly, her voice filled with sorrow. It doesn't surprise me, she murmured. He's a great guy. Lowering her gaze, she confessed, sometimes I look back on what we had and wonder how I could have been so foolish. She took a sip of her coffee, then met her friend's eyes. I really loved him. I truly did. But things got so tough with the bills, and I started feeling sorry for myself. All I could think about was escaping our problems and having some fun. Julie remained silent, opting to listen. Skyler was right about everything. I lost respect for him. Maybe I even stopped liking him for a while. Silly, I know. Losing his job wasn't his fault. He was doing his best to prevent us from losing everything, but I couldn't see past my own desires. I just wanted things my way. I remember when Skyler suggested a weekend at the zoo, but I insisted on a night out instead, shutting him down. And about Jerry, Skyler had a gut feeling. He even asked if I planned to sleep with him. I denied it, but truth be told, I was considering it. Oh, Lori. Yeah, I know. Believe me, Julie, if I could do it again, would do it completely differently. Is he still living in that little apartment he got? Oh no, he left there a long time ago. I guess you haven't heard. Again, Julie hesitated to bring it up. What now? Don't tell me he won the lottery. No, nothing like that. But he got his old job at Vans. That was a while ago. A few months after your divorce was final, I think. They started losing clients left and right after they fired Skyler. They finally called and asked him to come back. After some negotiations, he accepted their offer. Heck, now he's making more money than ever. As she finished speaking, Julie saw a tear roll down Lori's cheek. I'm sorry, honey. I shouldn't have said anything. No, she replied, shaking her head. It's no one's fault but mine, she said. I can't tell you how many nights I went to bed thinking about him. I prayed that the last 2 years would just be a horrible nightmare, and I'd wake up the next morning with Skyler lying next to me. But then I'd wake up and face reality again. Lori took a tissue and wiped away her tears. I'm happy for him, honestly. Give him this for me if you see him again. I will, dear, Julia said sympathetically. The girls changed the subject and talked of many other things. When they finally parted, Lori pretended that everything was all right, but as soon as she got into the car and was out of sight, she couldn't bear to stop crying. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please subscribe to the channel for new stories.